what we're gonna be talking about in this video, excuse me, is this is part 5. This is part 5 for factoring, or 6. It's probably 5 or 6 for factoring. What we're gonna be talking about is factoring the difference of 2 squares. Again, this is part of a series, so if you need help with different other types of factoring, I would suggest going to parts 1 through 5 or 4. Excuse me. The first thing I want to just kind of emphasize is the formula for the difference of 2 squares. What's the formula? The formula says that a squared minus b squared equals a to the first minus b to the first times a to the first plus b to the first. So that's the punchline of this whole video, this right here. But I do want to just kind of walk through some examples so you can get a mechanical understanding. The second thing I want to emphasize, is this right here. Something to the first power is not the same as that same thing to the second power. Those are not the same. So for example, 5 to the first power is not equal to 5 squared. I just want you to recall that fact. That's all. For example, again, 5 to the first power is 5. 5 squared is 25. So when you're working with these different terms and stuff like that, just if you're not kind of used to that already, just keep that in mind. And this is just a quick example. So for example, let's say we had p squared minus 144. Going by this formula right here, the square root of p, the square root of p squared is just regular p. Again, that's where you kind of get these. And the square root of 144, that's 12. So this is going to be our A, and this is our B right here. So I just wanted to, again, kind of put an example up there. So while we finna start these examples, but if you get confused, look at this board. I'm going to be working off of these two. If you get confused while we going through these problems, look at this board right here. So the first example is x squared minus 4. So how do we do this? We take the square root of this and the square root of this. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 4 is 2. So we know these are gonna be what's in both of these problems right here. X and 2. Now going back up here, all we gotta look at is the difference in one set of parentheses we're subtracting, and in the other set we're adding. So x squared minus 4, when we factor the difference of those 2 squares, because again, 4 is a square and x squared is a square. When you factor that, you get x minus 2 times x plus 2. We're gonna go again. If that's not all the way clear, we're gonna run through a few more examples. So hopefully by the time we finish, it'll be a little bit more easy to understand. Example number 2 is y squared minus 25. Excuse me. So again, it's the same process. We're gonna take the square root of y squared, which is y, and the square root of 25, which is 5. And so we know this is what's gonna be in the parentheses, y and 5. The only thing that we got to worry about is it gonna be addition, subtraction, or what? So in this first set of parentheses, it's minus, and in the second, it's plus. So y squared minus 25 is y minus 5 times y plus 5. Just a point of information. There's no sum of squares. You can only factor the difference of squares. That's just, I know if you like me, you probably thinking about, well, what happened if you add them? At least there hasn't been a formula found for the sum of squares. So this is example number 3. We got 100 minus n to the second power. Going along with the formula, this is A and this is B. So the square root of 100 is 10. And the square root of n is the square root of n squared, is just regular n. So that's right there. And that's gonna be the same in this parenthesis right here. All we gotta think about is just that this first one is subtraction and the second is addition. So 100 minus n squared is 10 minus n times 10 plus n. Excuse me. What's next? So next one we got 4x squared minus 1. Take a little second and see if you can figure this one out. Cool. So, excuse me. This is the same as the other problems, except for we got a coefficient, which is 4 right here. But the process is the same. You take the square root of this first term, and I'm gonna keep it right here. So we already know that the square root of x, we're gonna skip over this 4 real quick. The square root of x squared is just x, and the square root of 1 is just 1. So we know that already. So we know that's already gonna be in there, x and 1. Now, next thing we gotta look at is what's gonna be minus and what's gonna be plus. So again, that first parentheses is subtraction and the second one is addition. Now let's get back to this this coefficient real quick. What's the square root of 4? Well, the square root of 4 is 2, and that 2 is right in front of the x. So we'll just put that right in front of both of these right here, because we got to make sure that we account for that 4 that's still in there. And so this is going to be our answer right here, 4x to the second power minus 1. When you factor that, is 2x, or it equals 2x minus 1 times 2x plus 1. I think we got 2 more, and we got 2 more examples. Kind of run through to kind of and again, hopefully by the end of this, kind of how to find the difference of squares will be a little bit again, it'll be a little bit more what's called intuitive. So again, we're gonna ignore 49. We're not gonna worry about that. So we got the square root of x squared is just x. So we're gonna put that right there. And the square root of y, I don't know why this throwing me for a loop right now. How could this, man? Is this y squared? It might have supposed to be y squared. I think this is supposed to be y squared. So again, taking the square root of that, that's just gonna be y. And again, these parentheses is gonna be the same. So we know it's gonna be x, and we know it's gonna be y. Square root of x squared is just x. Square root of y squared is just y. And again, in this first parentheses, this first set, we do subtraction, and then we do addition on the second set. Now we can get back to this 49. What's the square root? Same as the last problem, just a coefficient. What is the square root of 49? Square root of 49 is 7. So we just gonna put that 7 back in front of the x. Because it's in front of the x, that's where we're gonna put it over here, in front of the x, the square root. So 49x squared minus y squared when we take the factor of these two squares, is 7x minus y times 7x plus y. Excuse me. And this is our last problem right here. We got y to the 4th power minus 9. Take a little second, you know what I'm saying, see. Try to figure it out for yourself, you know, pause the video and whatnot. Let me stop. Alright, so now, same process as the last examples. What is the square root of y to the 4th power? I'm not gonna get all the way into this, but to do this one, you just gotta know how to multiply exponents. Y to the 4th is y squared times y squared, basically. So that's what we're gonna put up here. First of all, in these parentheses is y squared, and the square root of 9 is just 3. So we know these two are gonna be the terms that we're dealing with. Y squared and 3. So again, the last thing, this now it should be automatic. The first parentheses is always subtraction, and the second one is addition. So y to the 4th power minus 9, when we take the square, when we factor these two squares, what we get is y squared minus 3 times y squared plus 3.